it's not about the underdog so much. I think we're all an underdog. I think the top CEO on the planet Earth still has that doubt.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck where you're from. Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, the best on the planet. We're all underdogs. Whether you're underdog because you put yourself there to be hungry or you're just a real life underdog. Right. We're all an underdog. And so this is about the mind and people discovering the mind, their own mind. And one thing I know is we all have an equation. We all have an equation. Like, I'll talk about 3.14 is pi. There's different equations to figure out different kind of, mathematical problems. We as human beings are mathematical problems. I cannot give you a book for every fucking body in this world. That's why my book, even though it's one book, is tailored to the individual. It's not like you do these 5 steps, you're good. No, I'm helping you figure out your fucking equation because it's different. My equation is different from your equation. Yeah. What's going to make you tick? What's going to make you go the distance? What's going to make you go to that spot in hell and say, I love this spot. It's okay. That's what this book does. It helps you figure out your 3.14. Helps you figure out your fucking mathematical equation and say, oh, because once you figure out the equation in any math problem, you no longer fail, man. You got it figured out. So my self-esteem, even though I was building it up and I lost weight and stuff like that, I'm now around the most uncommon of uncommon people. And I'm like, my God, I'm here. Do I belong here? Do I belong? Do I belong here? So your mind has a good way of taking the path of least resistance. Whenever friction happens, friction causes growth. Mm-hmm. Whenever friction happens, that's why a lot of us don't have any growth, because when friction happens, we go the opposite direction. Mm-hmm. So in my mind, when friction happened, my mind said, oh, hey, man, let's get out of here. Yeah. You're not real. Right. You've lied your whole life. You come from this, you can barely read. Right. Those things. So whenever times got hard, my mind said, you're not good enough. Right. Let's go. Right. So my mind wasn't, my eyes, my mind weren't connecting. Right. So how you combat that is this. I call it the cookie jar. You have to remind yourself. We all have a story. All of us have gone through very hard times. But when we're in a hard time, our mind has a way of forgetting what all we've overcome. I have a way of taking 1 second when I want to quit and saying, okay, you endured this. So I look at my life and how I came up as the ultimate training ground. Mm-hmm. Versus most people look at it as why? Woe is me. God, why? Exactly. Why? I had to flip this upside down and say, hang on a second. God was training me to be one of the baddest men on the planet Earth. Absolutely right. That's how this was my journey. Because those things beat me, but they didn't kill me. I was able to work around them and figure out ways through it. So when I was in the worst time of my life in Hell Week, I looked at everybody and said, I'm the most trained person here. I've gone through more mental torture than any of you all can even fathom. So I'm looking at the baddest people on the planet. I'm looking at them like this. You guys can't hold a stick. So I started looking at verses like, I don't belong here, versus like, I might be the baddest person to ever come here. Who could have pulled this off? Mm-hmm. Who could have been given a sewer to live in their mind and say, okay, at birth, I'm going to put you in the worst place on the planet Earth. And let me see if you can go to the top of the mountain. Right. With nothing. But just hard work, grit, and figuring it out and not putting yourself back in the dungeon every time something got hard. So that's what became my daily voice was, you really are the baddest person on the planet. Right. And after a period of time, you start to believe that. And so that's what happened to the first Hell Week, the second Hell Week, the third Hell Week. That became my new norm. So what most people fear, I can never go through one. I don't want to go through two. Right. Even SEALs will tell you that. That Navy, so I did 18 months in Navy SEAL training. Mm-hmm. It's only supposed to be 6 months long. It became my new norm. Right. And that's what people don't do enough of. You're always looking for a new norm. And that's how my mind started saying, getting beat, getting tortured, suffering, broken legs, kidney issues. This is my new norm. And my mind started changing with the reality of who I want to be. I think pushing yourself physically is the number one factor of life. That is the true spot where you can really dive deep into. Life's about self-discipline. It is about self-discipline. We tend to do the things that are easy. And that is it builds no mental toughness. It builds no mental hardening. It builds nothing. When you working out is where you can build that the fastest, because it's a constant, it gives you instant feedback. Yeah, you may not lose the weight you want to real fast, but the discipline it takes, it transfers over to all aspects of your life. It's not people, man, why are you always working out? Stop looking at it that way. This is the foundation of life. When you look in the mirror, every morning we all look in the mirror to get ready to go to work, to go anywhere. The first thing you see is your reflection. If you don't like what you see in the morning, you lost the war already. It's not about even liking what you see. It's about looking in the mirror and you may start, man, I feel different. That reflection is not everything. It's a feeling you're supposed to get. So you have to, in life, once you leave your house, the war begins. In your house, you have some control. And that reflection in the mirror, you have to control that reflection in the mirror. That's how you start your day. If you leave your house feeling like, okay, I can fight. I've established the mentality to fight. And all that comes from working out. It's not just from, you can't find that in the office.
You're not understanding that the adversity, the struggle, the hard times, the difficult things, the frustration, those are the things that create our skill sets. Those are the lessons that we learn that give us the skills to then put the skills into play and produce a better life. And if you think about it, it makes sense why we avoid the adversity, right? Like why we run from it. Our whole lives are all, taught around convenience, quick, easy, fast fix. Every piece of marketing that we see out there is about results now. And the truth of the matter is life just doesn't work that way, guys. It's not a realistic way of thinking. There's not one thing that's great in your life that you got without having to push through something. All right. Name me one thing, like one thing that you're super proud of, that you're super enthusiastic about, that you are super prideful about, that you didn't have to fucking earn. All right. And then off of that, all different kinds of qualities come into play. I talk about earning the things like grit, fortitude, self-esteem, confidence, the ability to endure. You have to earn these things. Okay. We live in a world right now, like we've talked about on the past shows recently, that celebrates victimhood. It's a competition now about who has the biggest challenges, not who's overcome the biggest challenges. And I'm going to tell you right now, the world is going to reward people who overcome the challenges. You might get some claps. You might get some, oh man, that's so hard. You might get some of that shit, but it's not going to change your life. Okay. It's instant gratification shit. You are putting out information to then get instant gratification attention, which doesn't really serve you long term. So guys, understand that doing the opposite of what most people do is what's going to lead to most success in your life in general terms. So when you see everybody else working to make their life easier, more convenient, less frustrating, basically looking to cut all the hard things out of their life, look at the rest of their life. What is it? It's generally a shit show. Okay. So that should be an indication to you that maybe you need to look at life a little bit different. And one of the things that I see people do is they don't understand that you should actually be seeking out the proper obstacles that are going to teach you the lesson and embrace them so that you can be better. Because, dude, we could talk about and whine about and cry about everything in our lives, but there's only one thing that's going to change it, and that's actually taking action towards the place that you want to go. And I don't care who says different. This is a universal truth, and it doesn't matter who's president, doesn't matter who's fucking won the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter. This is always going to be true. What you put in will produce the output.